And if you're not familiar with that term, check it out. I masked who I was. It's not like I was trying to pretend. It's that I was trying to just exist in society in a way that everyone else does. But my brain works different. I have very bad memory. And whenever I'm trying to remember something, I have to see the picture of it in my head, and that I think in pictures. So it's very different, and a lot of who I am is put into that.
Hello, guys. What's going on? Welcome back to the Innerneath Podcast. I am back here in the cave, and as you can see, but we are here today with Joy Auburn, who is of many things, many talents, as we like to talk to people with many talents on here. Jiu-jitsu, bodybuilding, obviously a creative and a writer, a very colorful dresser, a very snazzy dresser as well.
Yes, oh, good Lord. This is definitely something to hit. Absolutely. I dressed up for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I dressed up for you today. Wear my little bow tie. I like wearing bow ties a lot. So my style, my fashion, like I have a lot of confidence that I wear things that are like whatever I want to wear that day. That's what I do.
And as you should, because well, one of the things that, because we met in Vegas, as I met a lot of people in Vegas who are creatives and authors at the 20 Books convention, and you were wearing this. I can't describe the outfit, but it was an outfit, and you are. And for those of you, obviously, people who don't know you,
was that the cat suit?
I think it was like blue, and there was like airbrush muscles, and I was like, who is this woman? Airbrush, and the muscles didn't need to be airbrushed because you are quite physically fit. But that's what, of course, I was like, hey, who are you? And what are you doing here? Because all the colorful people that were at that convention were the ones that drew my attention the most, people in outfits and stuff. And you were one of those people. So I guess one of the things we can start off talking about is kind of how you have gone through your body evolution of exercise and getting involved in combat sports and things like that.
For sure. I started I was always into sports and everything. And I started martial arts when I was about 7 years old. I was teaching it by 12. Like I did Chinese wrestling. I did Kung Fu was my first. And then I did some judo, I did taekwondo, and I really fell in love with jiu-jitsu. That was my favorite. So when I was in college, I won a national championship, and I was the all-around girl for jiu-jitsu. And at that time, I was super fit. I was trying to get into MMA, but based on my age, it wasn't really around for females. I could do some underground fights, right. But I'm too square to be able to find all that, at least back then.
Ronda Rousey before Ronda Rousey. There you go.
Basically, yeah, the Gina Garano. Shit. She and I are about the same age. That she and I would be the ones that, like, I always wish that I could have fought her. So that would have been really fun.
Well, see, Disney, take a note there, since you fired her. There's your replacement for Gina and whatever they're doing now. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I'm there. I'm there. If I have to change my hair, I'm good with that. Maybe a wig.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's there's people who talk all the time about females and athleticism, and there's lots of controversy around it. I do find that when you do talk to somebody who is in physical shape, my sister's in physical shape. She's was on a podcast earlier. She's into bodybuilding and veganism and everything else. It's not such a it's like you're one in a million kind of a thing, because health is becoming a lot more prominent. But also that's prominent too is mental health. And as we were talking before the podcast started, you've been diagnosed with several things. So I guess go.
Well, it actually was, I outed that I am, oh, good Lord, now I'm trying to remember it wasn't, that I have Tourette's. I'm like going down the list of things that I deal with. And it's like, oh yeah, that was the first thing. I was in my mid-30s before I got diagnosed with anything except for ADHD. And so I was very much on the spectrum, and I dealt with Tourette's. Like, I would make noises and all sorts of things that was very disruptive in class, because that back then they didn't do anything. There was nothing to be able to help or things like that. They didn't realize that, ADHD meds can help kids that are, more kids and that sort of thing. But so I've been with, it's ADHD, Tourette's, OCD, depression, anxiety. I am autistic, very high functioning. One of the hardest things that I deal with is social communication like this. And so but that's something that once I walked into being myself a couple years ago, I feel it's so much easier to communicate because I'm being my authentic self. I masked. And if you're not familiar with that term, check it out. I masked who I was. It's not like I was trying to pretend. It's that I was trying to just exist in society in a way that everyone else does. But my brain works different. I have very bad memory. And whenever I'm trying to remember something, I have to see the picture of it in my head, and that I think in pictures. So it's very different. And a lot of who I am is put into that. So yeah.
You think in pictures, because there is a thing to higher cognitive functioning, which is people who have what they used to call photographic memory. And it tends to work a lot better for people.
Lucky asses. Just kidding. I hope it's okay that I said that.
This is an unrestricted podcast, so you can say whatever you want.
I don't want to say anything even though I'm on the spectrum and all the different things. I'm like, I hope that I'm not saying something too offensive, because my brain is hardwired. Like, I'm like a 13-year-old boy, even though I have the acne and, and it's just so much more unfiltered. And so the last thing I would ever do is try to offend somebody. But I grew up with my grandmother. She was basically in the Dust Bowl, or whatever you want to call it, in the Great Depression. And so I grew up with old school everything.
Oh, okay. Well, I would see. Here's the thing about me is that as far as offending people, I'll take it on the chin and get in trouble for it. I don't, and I was having this discussion over the last couple of days. I do find it back to being your authentic self. I'd rather people be authentic. And if you're not trying to offend, because clearly you're not trying to offend people, but if you say something that's offensive to somebody, it's not like, oh my God, you're an evil person. Like, you're not trying to do that. It's if you do offend somebody and somebody says, you know what, that's kind of messed up, but I have this, or I am this, and I don't like it when you say that. And you're like, oh, okay, okay, I won't say it again.
Yeah. Well, being a published author, I know that that's something that all of a sudden you'll say the wrong thing, and it's just it gets disseminated to other people, and it just keeps going. So
but I think some of us should probably be a little bit bolder, because in the same sense, you're going to find another audience, though. So you may lose an audience that might not even be your audience by being your authentic self. And if your authentic self offends somebody or offends people, maybe they're not your audience, but there are a bunch of other people who are in your audience that will be like, I identify. I have, the same thing. I say things sometimes that, sound funny to me, but they might offend somebody. And,
Yeah.
Don't
I
take
know I have some offensive things that are in the book that I'm working on right now, which my editor has. It's called Linebacker Beauty Queen. Um, and it's based on my real life. I played high school football and won Miss Teenage Oklahoma in the same year. And so you want to talk about trying to figure out identity before it was even a thing that, I mean, I had no idea that I could question anything. I graduated in 2000. There, I just aged myself. I actually turned 41 tomorrow. So
happy birthday. Welcome to the
yes,
club.
thank you.
Welcome to the
But anyway, for that sort of difference in the football versus the beauty queen, I was groomed my entire life for being a beauty queen. I have so many crowns that ended up in a box somewhere. My mom took me to my first dance camp when I was 3 months old. She was a cheerleading dance coach. So it wasn't weird or anything. But I just grew up that way.
right.
And that was the expectation, to be the all-American girl. And I was, I won valedictorian. I played all the sports. I was in a lot of clubs. I did all the things that were kind of expected. But I could never really connect with people. And there was always this wanting to connect so badly, but having no idea how to, and everything I tried didn't work. And I had no idea that I needed to basically start over with, and the first thing that I did, I have my hair. One of the first things I did is start just kind of shaving right here.
Right.
And it was more and more. And now it's like, ooh, that's a big thing. Now it's like this. Okay, not normally, but I have 2/3 of my head shaved. And you like that crazy thing happening there? That's exactly what it normally looks like, because I'm from the South and everything in the South is bigger. So
the interesting title, the Linebacker Beauty Queen.
yeah.
And being that that's based off of your experience in your life, and it's because so you're meshing in all of those things with, living the all-American lifestyle.
It was anything but an all-American life.
Yes.
Like I was bred to be that way because I lived opposite. The garage in my house was bigger than my house. Yeah, and there was no basement or anything like that. Like I've lived in poverty so much, and so I was bred to be the all-American girl. And so from that, I masked my entire life to be that kind of person. I never knew what I could question, what I could potentially become. I had the blonde hair and the big poofy whatever, right. And so now, and then I became rainbow bright. So we're good there.
Yeah, is it that you find that, because again, and I always say there's nothing, or whatever your thing is, there's nothing wrong with being all-American, whatever, but if it's not what you're really feeling, then you shouldn't follow something. And it's the opposite too. So some people try to be so hard to be different, and they're cutting this and tattooing this, but they never find any happiness in it, because maybe they're trying too hard to be different when they're actually not really that different. Yours seems to be like the opposite. Like people are trying.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, people are trying to get you to be ultra, this kind of, I guess Jennifer Aniston type or whatever. You're more like, well, I'm not really. I'm me. I want to do this. I want to do this, and because you do a lot of different things.
I definitely do. Yeah.
How does that funnel into the character in your book, and is it where does you as Joy end with the character, and then when is the character kind of, all right, I took this into a more of a storyline, this is what the character is?
So 2 things real quick with that is all of the people who were supporting my character, like in the book, I didn't have that. I didn't have those supports. And so you read that and you're like, but it's, you have to make it the right story. That's the thing, is it's based off my year and like that I played those two. But part of one of the biggest things that the biggest change was football was at the same time as the beauty pageant, when in reality it was the same part of the same year, but I won it. It was the same calendar year, basically. So all that kind of thing. I'm picturing here's the thing, like how it is. I'm picturing a calendar and then counting. Yeah. So they didn't have at the same time. My grandmother had already passed away in it. I grew up with my mother and my grandmother, and my mom was an alcoholic. I I remember that I had to sleep in trees sometimes, and or sit up in trees for a long time. And I did fall asleep sometimes, and I didn't fall out, I swear. Okay, maybe I did.
Once or twice.
Huh?
Once or twice, maybe.
Yes, once or twice. We'll go with that. Uh, so, but no, I had some really good trees to climb whenever I was younger. And it's like, I had to get away. That's one of the reasons why I got into so many things that I did, was because it took up all the time. So that because I was an only child, I really wanted friends, I wanted attention, all that kind of stuff. But because of my autism, because I can't figure out what I just said 2 seconds ago, I can't remember. So it's all the little quirks
And
that
they're all wrapped up into
yeah,
the story that you're telling. Well, that's
exactly.
that's
But it's like I try to make hers much more lighthearted in certain places, and it's dark in others. So it's but she's a very strong woman protagonist.
right.
She really is. So or strong female. She's not a woman yet. But I'm really proud of that story so far.
Nice. We get into this struggle because this has been an ongoing topic, because I don't know if you know, the series my main series right now is featuring a female protagonist, and I have my definite thoughts about representation. That's a charged word. How to write a story about a female but not writing a story about being a female? And
Sure.
I personally think there's a difference between the two things. So one of the things I don't like is when I don't like the Mary Sue thing, and people know the Mary Sue thing, because I don't think that benefits a strong female protagonist where, well, she can just do everything.
Yeah.
No, she's got to be, any character has to have some sort of adversity, things that there are flaws with them, things that are benefits. As you said, you have people in their lives who help them and don't help them.
Right.
So are you trying to keep, with writing a female protagonist, because there are a lot of female protagonists, especially in the indie space, are you trying to be mindful of that, or is it something that how are you trying to establish your main character as a strong female? What would you say are the elements that go into doing that in your story?
Sure. She's just hardcore sports.
Yeah.
The first line is, I never thought my first kiss would make me want to lick a bar of soap. And so she goes into how much it tastes like a stale bean burrito. But she makes all these sports analogies, like the sport. She compares different things to sports. Like, it's like kissing is kind of like a sweaty gym bag. After a while, you get used to it, it's that sort of thing. But she's right from the beginning, it's like she likes a challenge. But she doesn't necessarily think things through always. And then at the very end, it's just like any story, it's so polar opposite. But whatever thing she's doing, she has to work on her talent, work on the beauty queen stuff, always while she's also playing football. And she has to keep football a secret from her mom, because her mom, if she finds out about that, she's just going to keep drinking. It's going to be so bad. So she tries to be as awesome as she can with the mom. And then for the pageant, she's trying to keep the guys from finding out that she's in the pageant.
Right.
So it's this kind of back and forth thing that is also a definite thing of conflict and tension.
That's interesting because it's a dual life kind of interesting storyline there where, she's, and I guess that's part of her conflict that she's having to deal with kind of living two different lives. And then I guess figuring out who she actually is in the process of doing this.
Yes.
You guys,
Little bit stubborn.
a little bit stubborn.
Very stubborn. Yeah, because none of this is reflecting back on me, or nothing about me is in the story.
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
So you also had in your bio that you wrote for, and we're not going to mention whoever it is, best-selling author that you did ghostwriting for. How is that? Because a lot of people probably don't. In fact, it's a rare group of people that have probably done that have ghostwritten for somebody who's a best-selling author. How do you feel about the process of doing that? Is there a little bit of, well, that's really me kind of thing going on when you see that somebody else's name is on it, but I kind of.
Oh yeah, but I can't do that I can't show anybody,
Right.
I'm just like, hey, I got stuff out there, which could mean anybody, which is kind of cool. So it keeps people guessing, but no, for every book that I write, the characters are so different. The voice, everything about it, like you would read some of my stuff and possibly not know that it's mine even now.
Oh wow.
So I just submitted a story for an anthology. The anthology closed yesterday. So it's like I'm kind of staying on top of everything. I'm doing this with you, which is awesome. I'm getting out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yep, we're all getting out of our comfort zone. I'm running this. Well, I've been doing YouTube and podcasting for a while now, so I'm kind of used to it. And I'm talking and doing interviews and stuff. But I'm also the main thing. And somebody asked me why I'm doing a podcast. One of the things that I love is that I get to learn from everybody I speak to, because so many different stories and there's so many different people, and we're all the same in like 90% of the ways, but it's that 10% of differences where you can learn. And there's a great quote that somebody always I always adhere to and always listen to, is that always assume that no matter who it is, the other person you're talking to knows something that you don't, because they do. So if you always assume that somebody knows something that you don't know, and you can kind of you will learn and grow. And I learned a lot from knowing that as the Cajun, not Cajun, it's the gumbo of what you listed there with the autism and the ADHD and the depression and everything else. And nobody, I speaking to you, I wouldn't know any of that ahead of time, and that what that is and how to deal with that, and which makes your story all that more interesting and your books all that more interesting. What are some of the other anthologies? Because you listed that you had anthologies. Can you name some of the ones that you've had short stories for?
Yeah, it's Curse Collectibles. Not gonna remember all of them. Undercurrents. I have the Red Unicorn. It's a red unicorn, like that's what it is, but it's called something different.
Okay.
I'm like, I know what stories I have for those, but I can't remember. I have this one. I'm saying I have such a bad memory. I can't even remember the books that I've been in. But I've shared table of contents with some very big names.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, been really lucky.
Yes. Now I am curious, because you have the history of sex, which was not your podcast, which is a podcast that you were a guest on. And I've seen some of your social media. I'm going to say this in a very classy way. You have a lot of very interesting photographs that you have online. So is that part of because obviously that is not Barbie All-American stuff. You are very, very eclectic and very, very colorful in your presentation. So is that something that is the look and the photography and the art of the costumes and all of that? Where does that come from, and what do you kind of feel that you get out of some of that stuff?
It's totally just my inner creativity. Whenever I loved dress up day. always, because I always won them because what I was wearing is elaborate, very elaborate. I remember in middle school, I was 70 in the 70s. I was able to fit into my grandmother's, her big bell bottoms, and it was like a pink, but it was all pink. So, so basically I went as Marsha, I think is what it was. From, yeah. Well, I mean, essentially that's what it looked like. But then I've done, I mean, for this last one, I was Princess Peach. So really, it's more of, that's more dressing up to me. Princess Peach is because of my boys. They're going as Mario and Luigi. Nice. But it's more of a costume for me, wearing something Princess Peach or something like that, rather than my normal day stuff, which is what a lot of people would dress up as on Halloween, is my normal stuff. You know, like, I don't know how many people like to wear bow tie, or females, but I wear that, and I also wear normal ties. I tie them myself. Not the Windsor knot. I haven't quite gotten there yet. But
I was about to ask about that one, because that one's always that's always a fun one when you have to go.
Yeah.
Gotta
well, and it would probably look really good because it would hit like right here or whatever. And so it's might be that perfect thing. And if I get a white tie, all right, now I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to work on my Windsor.
Well, yeah, because I definitely will compliment you on, because I like people who have a unique style, because there are people who say they have style and it's like it's somebody else's style, but your style is definitely yours. It's like that's why, which is again what drew me to come and talk to you, because I was like, that person is an actual unique person who's actually doing her own thing. And let me
I had that big studded jacket as well. So I got that in Las Vegas the year before, and it looks like the badass biker girl. And then I have these aviation sunglasses that I wear with it. And then I have these furry hats, and then I'll put that on, but it's the warm furry hat for winter, but I'll go out like that. It's the warmest hat I have. So but it works. People are like, oh my gosh, I love that hat. What brand is it? And anyway.
Well, I think that if anything I can take away, and I'm definitely going to take away from this interview, is that you can make your own stuff work. You don't have to subscribe to somebody else's idea of what you should be, and you never know.
But they should subscribe. They should subscribe to your channel, though.
They should say, well, they're already subscribed to my channel.
Oh, that's true. Well, if you're not, you better be.
Yes, we're making all this stuff work. And speaking of subscribing, let the people know where to find you, because again, your new book is currently out, or is it on coming out for release soon?
For Linebacker Beauty Queen, that still has, because I'm planning to go traditional. Okay. My goal is one of the big 5 publishers. So with that,
HarperCollins.
Huh?
HarperCollins.
Yeah. We'll see which one. I have already had 2 requests from editors from there as soon as I get everything situated.
Okay.
But I'm in final draft edits right now on it. So nice. I'm excited. So no, not yet. And it's probably going to be about 2 years after it gets the ball rolling, but that's traditional publishing. That's why a lot of times people do like indies and things like that. So you don't have to worry about it taking quite so long. You can just get your stuff out there, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But you can find me at joyauburn.com. That's JOYAUBURN. You know the rest of it.
Exactly.
.com, yeah.
And all the socials and everything else is on there. And you guys definitely check it out, because again, like I said, Joy is a very, very colorful person, and you will not be disappointed by following her socials, because there's always something. She's always doing something interesting, whether it's surgeries or photo shoots or she's posing and throwing confetti in the air or whatever it was you were doing.
Yeah, no, I'm actually this coming week, I'm finding out whether or not, because I have a tumor / cyst on my pituitary gland. So we're checking this week to make sure it hasn't grown. And so I'm a little nervous with that, but I mean, you talk about how things can change your life, and finding out about that and just other health things. It's been a rough year, but you know what? I'm staying active and doing my best to have fun. So work out 5 days a week. So bring it on.
And we are going to, of course, wish you the best, and hopefully everything is fine and there's nothing tragic going on there, because we want you to be back again, because we talk to you back when this book comes out. We're going to have a conversation, because I'm going to read it and then I'm going to remember this podcast and go, I know that's from her life. That's from her.
Yes, a lot. There's so many things that are similar and so many things that happen that are different. That's a lot. That's another conversation whenever I have people like doing kind of beta reading, alpha reading. They're like, did that really happen? Or did that really, it's just, I get that a lot, because they're surprised by how bad things were. So it seems like it's lighthearted, but there's definitely some hardcore stuff to read. So.
Yeah, well, everybody says comedians always have the darkest souls, as you will find out. But thanks for joining us, Joy, on the Innerneath Podcast. And everybody check her stuff out. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Have a good day.